it does have the updated intake manifold. That's an aftermarket. That is not a Ford. That's not the Ford manifold. It's probably a Dorman by the look of it, because they had problems cracking this front piece. So this car's had a manifold put on it. But what I'm actually digging in here to fix is, do you see this dang hose down here? There's a hose right here, and I'm feeling of it I'll show you in a second. But that hose right there's got a hole in it. You can see right there where it's wet, where I'm squeezing on it. That hose has got a hole in it. Well, that hose runs up underneath that intake manifold, okay? You really can't see the blasted thing. There's really no good way to see it. But the hose runs up there, and it's got a metal crimp ring. Ah, there you can see it. That metal crimp ring hooks onto a metal pipe, and it comes up, and it goes around town, and it visits with all of its neighbors, and it comes out right here. Well, I'm going to show you a way to not take the intake off to fix this. This is a disaster, and this thing is mounted at the back of the block, so you can't just like pull it out, push it through. Nah, you gotta take the intake off. We're not taking the intake off, but I'll show you my little contraption. I've done this several times, and it's not a real problem. You can fish the hose through and use some adapter thingies, and I'll just show you. But there is a way around it, and you know, if this was a Concourse, like a restoration car or something, this would be the wrong way, but for a driver, this is more than acceptable, and it's a good repair, and it will last, so that's all that's important. And you know, if it does actually blow that hose again, it'd be one hell of a lot easier to fix. So I'll show you when I get this part tore out of here and get dug into it. Well, we got this mess hacked out of here. As you can tell by looking at this hose, it is absolutely horrid. Looks like foam rubber. It don't even look like a hose. Well, anyway, this pipe that's back in there, it goes through the hole in the back of the block, and if I remember right, there's 2 holes in the back of that block. They're very small. You can't get a hose through it. I do know that. You can only get that metal tube. So this hose is not going to go under the intake. It's just a fact of life. What you're going to need to do this is you're going to need about, I don't know, 4 foot of 5/8 heater hose. You're going to need one 90-degree fitting. You can read it there, it's a Gates. You're going to need, let's see, you'll need 4 hose clamps if you've still got the original spring clamps, because they ain't worth the crap. Anyway, you really need the correct size worm gear hose clamps. I had the next size up. I didn't have any of the right size, so I actually put these on, tightened them up, and took a pair of 10 snips and snipped them off, which means those can be a little sharp. So I suggest you probably not do that, but we do what we got to do. But what this in reality is going to do is this is going to go back up underneath this intake, and it's going to whoop on this hose. This hose is going to come out, and you'll just have to see where it goes. But somebody has already put a heater core in this car, and I'm not real sure what they did, because this side of this thing should not be a 3/4 inch hose. It shouldn't have 2 3/4 on it. That's not right. But they have put a step down in here and put, which they've mangled this one, but I think it'll be okay if I put the clamp toward the back of it. We'll find out. If not, I'll replace it. But they put a step down on it and hooked it back into the original hose, which is just stuck right there for now. I'm going to cut it out. But anyway, that's the deal. There is a way of bypassing this without taking the intake off. You can turn it from a, you know, a 3 or 4 hour job into a, you know, a 30-minute job, and that's just how it's going to be. So whether anybody likes it or not, but it'll be all right. Like I said, this ain't a customer car. It's a friend's car, and you know, he'll be well aware of what I've done. He'll see the video, and if it ever gives any problem, you know, he knows exactly what the deal is. So it's not going to be one of them open your hood and go, what the heck did this person do here? You know, I told him that if he wanted me to pull that intake, it's going to cost him some money. Plus that tube right there, to buy that actual tube from Ford's like $60. You can tell this is the updated intake manifold also. Right here is where the bolts would go to hold your coil-on plug, which these cars yet to have. They still have the 2 individual coil packs, 4 and 4. So anyway, let's get this on there and show you what it looks like. Well, we got our hose apparatus down in there. She goes down and she goes back up under the intake, and as you can see, there's plenty of room. She comes up through this hole in the intake, comes around here, and she's gonna come back to the heater core. Yeah, somebody's gonna say, well, you shouldn't run it that way. It's gonna do this, this, that, and the other. You know, it was never designed to run this way. That's the best place to put it, so that's where we're gonna put it. And show you another little trick. you start playing trying to get these hoses on, everybody fights with them and they cuss them and they growl at them and everything. Power lube. Any kind of penetrating oil will really work. Take into your hose and give it a slothering. You give it that slothering, and I can probably put this hose on with this one hand I've got right here. Let's see if I can, for good humor. Well, I need to put a clamp on it. Plus I need to try to straighten that up a little bit. But anyway, you get the point. Now right there just efficiently bypassed that tube that runs under the intake that garages will charge you $300 or $400 to replace when you replace it in your driveway in 20-25 minutes. Anyway, I'll show you the finished product. Well, the hose is all fitted up. The only thing we've got left to do is to come right here and see there is a chafe hazard right here. We are going to tie this hose down. We're actually going to take a tie wrap and we'll go around this wiring harness loom just to hold it down like so, just to keep it off of that. And I'm also going to split a piece of hose and make a shield for that. I'll show you that, because that's the only sharp place right here that it could actually chafe in this by running it this way. So we're going to take care of that real quick and I'll show you that. Well, we just took a piece of the scrap hose. As you can see, we split it in half, put it over the hose. It can't go anywhere. It's against the sharp item and it actually holds the hose. The hose is good where it's at, not a problem. It can stay right there. So let's get the alternator back on, which I've done showed you how to take off. It's just a reverse, just put it right back on there, and putting the belt on's a reverse, taking it off. And I guess I'll turn the camera back on. We're trying to pump some water in it. He didn't leave me any money. He didn't even leave me a battery for the car, so I'm not too concerned about antifreeze. That'll be his problem. And these are a pain to get to the drain and everything. That'll be his problem come winter. He dumped it on me anyhow. I probably shouldn't even have fixed it. If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. I may split this video up, I'm not real sure. But these cars have a problem with grounding at the alternator. They have a bad problem with it. They'll lose a ground and then the engine will start, it'll start from the power source. Anyway, to make a long story short, it'll start grounding through the coolant, through the water jackets of the block. It's quite interesting, but it causes electrolysis. It eats up the insides of these engines. Well, not really the engine as much as the radiators and the heater cores. This car's already had a heater core failure. I don't know who put it in, but they done a pretty sorry job. But anyway, he had somebody do it. But it's what it causes. Well, you clean these pads on the alternator, and you clean the mounting pads. You can see they're bare metal. We're going to put some grease on them, and we're going to put it back together. That way it will keep ground. Also on these cars, you've got one that's, it really plagued them up to about 2,000, 99 or 2,000. It's not a bad idea to buy another ground cable and run this ground cable, mind you, on the other side, but under the bolt, the bottom bolts for the alternator, and straight back to the battery. It's a good idea. I told him to do this because he had some charging problems, car wouldn't start. And I told him to do that and it corrected it. But, you know, we're going to do it right while we got it off. So anyway, like I said, there ain't going to be a whole lot to show you there, but that's why you do it. Next thing I guess we'll see is putting some water in it. Alright, we got a junker battery on it, and I jumped her off with the battery charger. Of course, I didn't put all that up because I didn't want to get it wet. So let's kick on the water hose and top this booger up with water. That's what I'm working on, trying to get the water hose turned on. Figured you'd just like to talk to me, maybe. I'll stick a water hose in the sucker. That's how we do it. That's how we roll. We'll put a water hose in it. You know, if you can't be any better to your friends and you know, tell them you're going to do something and don't do it. All this bunch of crap. I'm not got any inclination to put antifreeze in it for him. So I doubt I'd ever see my money anyhow. It's probably a miracle if I never get rid of this damn car. Let's turn the water hose off. Let it set a minute. Let it warm up. Because I know it's not full. I mean, it's nowhere near full. I know that. You know that. We all know that. But anyway, you can take an extremely hard repair right there. Well, I wouldn't say that it's a hard repair, but I'll say that it's a very time-consuming repair to take that intake manifold off. And you know, I mean, it just comes down to it, we're just not going to do that. You know, the car's got over 100,000 on it. It's a 97 model. It's not worth my time, your time, or anybody else's time. That hose repair right there will last the car. The hoses that are on it are original, except for they done that patchwork quilt right back right there for some unknown damn reason. Not real sure. I get agitated and I have to work on other people's crap, can you tell? Especially when it's not a paying job. But we're going to let it warm up. We're going to make sure she's got water in her. There's really no way to burp a 4.6 or a 5.3 or any of them. There's no bleeder on it, so it pretty much burp itself. This one doesn't have all that crazy control your heater cord crap. It's just straight through, so at least I don't have to worry about turning the heat on and all that bunch of junk. But we're going to let her warm up and see what we got. Looks like there's still some antifreeze in it, believe it or not. Water's still green, but it may just be residual that's left in the tank. I did see a little bit under the intake there. Still green, so he might have enough to keep it from corroding inside. I guess we'll find out.